If you haven't watched this Netflix hit yet, you have no idea what you're missing. Queen's Gambit, set in the 1950s and 60s, stars Anya Taylor-Joy as Beth Harmon, an orphan and chess prodigy who is determined to break into the male-dominated world of competitive chess. Here are some hidden truths about Queen's Gambit you probably didn't know, as compiled by Riveted. What's the Queen's Gambit? Yeah, the miniseries was, by all means, one of the best in recent weeks, but we bet some of y'all don't even know what a Queen's Gambit is. In chess, a gambit is an opening move in which the player will sacrifice pieces to later gain a positive position. The Queen's Gambit is probably the most popular gambit, and although most gambits are said to be unsound against perfect play, the Queen's Gambit is said to be the exception. The objective of the Queen's Gambit is to temporarily sacrifice a pawn to gain control over the center of the board. That's the move Beth uses in her final winning match against Vasily Borgov, the Russian world champion. Is it a true depiction of chess? Now, the chess matches are like watching a fast-paced action movie. The pieces fly and whirl across the board with each actor's swift moves, which makes it thrilling to watch for both chess lovers and for those who don't play. But are the moves real? Yes. The depiction of tournaments is very real, from the nitty-gritty details to the general atmosphere. The chess clocks, the recording of moves, the procedure for adjourning a game and writing down and sealing the next move, all are in accordance with real chess competitions. There was also no CGI or sleight of hand camera tricks involved. The actors really learned the moves to play those games. Taylor-Joy credited her ballet training to helping her remember her hand movements, though she admitted that in some scenes, she would learn the moves just before the cameras started rolling. Do the actors play chess in real life? Well, no. The actors are not actually chess gurus, but we bet they're pretty good now. The highly detailed chess sequences were put together by chess coach Bruce Pandolfini with advice from Russian Grandmaster Garry Kasparov. They also probably used chess engines, computer programs that analyze chess positions and generate a list of strongest moves, as well as faithfully matching scenarios in the book and drawing from real games. According to a Yes YouTube channel, Beth and Borgov's final match, up until a point, is based on a game between Ukrainian Vasil Ivanchik and American Patrick Wolf at the Biel Interzonal Chess Tournament in Switzerland in 1993. Borgov standing to applaud Beth after she wins is a reference to a famous match between defending champion Russian Boris Spassky and American opponent Bobby Fischer at the 1972 World Championship in Iceland, depicted in the 2014 film Pawn Sacrifice. Initially, the series was planned to put Grandmaster Kasparov on screen too, as Beth Russian nemesis Borgov. Kasparov turned down the chance to play on screen though, preferring to have his handiwork show up more subtly in the match they play instead. Is it based on a true story? Well, the series is a faithful adaptation of Walter Tevis's 1983 book of the novel name, with Scott Frank having written the screenplay. Tevis reportedly based the chess scenes on his own experience as a Class C player, while he also relied on help from national master Bruce Pandolfini, who served as a chess consultant on the new scenes. Bruce Pandolfini, widely considered to be America's most experienced chess teacher, rose to prominence as an analyst for the WNet PBS coverage of the 1972 Fischer-Spassky World Chess Championship match. It was Bruce who gave the first accredited college courses on chess at the New School for Social Research, where he was on the faculty from 1972 to 1991. Although Tevis drew on his own experience as a chess player for some of the more technical details of the story, there is no real chess player by the name of Beth Harmon. Tevis previously told the Times that the character was created as a tribute to brainy women. His daughter and his aunt, who had gifted him with his first chess set, were among the women who inspired the character. Well, if you've been in search of a real-life female chess genius, Judith Polgar of Hungary is generally considered the strongest female chess player ever. The Queen's Gambit is, however, dedicated to Lepe Rubing, the inventor of chess boxing, who died aged 45 in May this year of unknown causes. The Queen's Gambit also takes place against the historical backdrop of the Cold War during the 1950s and 60s, depicting the very real tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union at this time. And as in the show, the USSR dominated the top ranks of competitive chess during this period, taking the gold medal in every international chess Olympiad between 1952 and 1974. Resemblance to Bobby Fischer. Though he's only one of her love interests in the show, Benny Watts is hands down Beth Harmon's most fiery affair. Tevis loosely based the character on the real-life chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer, who won the famous Game of the Century at 13 years old. Perhaps that's why Beth and Benny were too alike to make it work out romantically. Beth is not explicitly based on a real person, but she also bears more than a passing resemblance to legendary chess prodigy Bobby Fischer. There are numerous parallels, down to their shared aggressive style of gameplay. As McLean notes, when playing white and facing the Sicilian defense, they both play the same system, the Fischer-Sozin attack. And like Beth, Fischer was crowned after defeating the defending Russian grandmaster in the midst of the Cold War. Previous attempts. In 1983, the New York Times journalist Jesse Kornbluth acquired rights for a screenplay and said there were several actors and directors interested, but eventually the rights were sold to another studio and the project was called off. 9 years later, in 1992, Scottish screenwriter Alan Sheach acquired the rights, with directors including Michael Apted and Bernardo Bertolucci involved before pulling out. There were also hopes for a film version with Heath Ledger as director in what would have been his directorial debut, but following the actor's tragic death, plans for the film were shelved. Walter Tevis also wrote about plans to write a sequel to the novel, but he never did, and passed away from lung cancer just a year after publication at the age of 56. Tevis has already had 3 of his 6 novels adapted for the big screen. Queen's Gambit was nearly the 4th. The addiction pills. Fans who have already enjoyed the show must be aware that it revolves around American drug abuse problems. However, it doesn't fully address the dark backstory. Throughout the Queen's Gambit, Beth struggles with an addiction to the green pills first given to her at the orphanage where she discovers chess. The orphanage touts them as vitamins, but they're eventually revealed to be a tranquilizer called Zanzolum, which doesn't actually exist. One of the early episodes of the Queen's Gambit shows Beth immediately benefiting from consuming several pills at one time. Fans must have seen how Beth is immediately able to focus her thoughts and receive a different strategic perspective after the tranquilizer pills work their magic. The pills seem to be based on chlordiazepoxide, also known as Librium, a sedative, often packaged in green capsules like those seen in the show that were widely prescribed to women in the early 1960s to help treat anxiety. Sadly, orphanages did give children these pills back in the day. Many who grew up in Canadian orphanages in the 1950s have said they were given behavior-altering drugs as children. Hair chronicles. Those cropped bangs worn by young Beth, played by Isla Johnston, might seem abrasive for a child, but they are accurate for the time period. Daniel Parker, the show's hair and makeup designer, said, "These bangs were not meant to be flattering. It was meant to be practical within the orphanage. You come in here, we cut off your hair, easy to keep, everybody gets this cut." I found some old photographs of these little kids with this cut, and the look verged on being severe to completely charming. I wanted that mix of severity and charm for all the younger girls on the show. Amongst the historical inspiration Parker used to construct Beth's persona, Natalie Wood was the guiding light, particularly when it came to the character's hair. Wigs were used on set, styled overnight, and rollers to maintain the waves that were popular in the 1960s. One of them was even nicknamed for the late actress. One of the fellow orphans, Jolene, had a more personalized look. According to Parker, he styled Ingram's natural hair for her scenes as young Jolene and used wigs for Jolene's adult years. Beth's significant lips. Each of Beth's lipstick colors were deliberately chosen for each individual scene and helped signify Beth's age as the series progressed. Toward the end of the series, Beth's lipstick shade ultimately becomes a nod to Alma. Marielle Heller played Mrs. Alma Wheatley, a lonely housewife with an absent husband and her own vices. She welcomes Beth as both her adopted daughter and much-needed companion, and Beth owes her a lot. Alma believes in Beth's talent and organizes Beth's trips to national and international chess tournaments. Makeup and hair designer Daniel Parker elaborated, saying, "The lips, along with the eyelashes, can temper what the character's doing or how the character's behaving." Towards the end, Beth's shades become similar to her second mother's as an ode to her. How Anya signed up. Despite the delays in getting an adaptation made, the Queen's Gambit novel reads like something that ought to be made for the screen, and Anya Taylor-Joy evidently agreed. When she was approached about Netflix's potential project, there wasn't even a script written for it, so she simply read the novel to see what it was about. She was immediately hooked, so much so, she literally ran to meet with the director. She said, "I was so passionate about the character and story. When I got to the restaurant, I was like, it's not all about chess, and she needs to be a redhead." And he was like, "I agree, sit down, let's have this discussion." Even though Anya knew nothing about chess whatsoever, she understood Beth really well, and she cared about her. The thought about being a teenage girl was rough enough without being a genius, and while she is a genius for a large portion of this story, Beth is also just a 15-year-old girl who is desperately trying to connect, and Anya connected with that. She said that it broke her heart when she first read it, and it continues to break her heart still. Beth's wardrobe. Beth Harmon's style game is one of the reasons why you should be watching The Queen's Gambit, as the chess prodigy parlayed her success into iconic looks. What fans might not have picked up on is that the chessboard inspires the outfits she wears. Beth's obsession with chess covers her from head to toe, from the striking black and white motifs to the square and diagonal lines. Reception. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, The Queen's Gambit received an approval rating of 100% based on 57 reviews, with an average rating of 8.19 out of 10. One viewer wrote, "Amazing, love this, love Anya, she's fantastic. The suspense, the emotion, everything's perfectly balanced. My heart was pounding even though it was predictable. The cinematography, production, and costumes were wonderful. That basement scene, that ending." Another fan wrote, "Hashtag The Queen's Gambit starring at Anya Taylor-Joy on @Netflix UK is absolutely enthralling and beautifully paced, drawing you in from the very first episode right until the last scene of the final episode." Anya Taylor-Joy is amazing as the fictional chess genius Elizabeth Harmon. The series also received praise from the chess community for its portrayal of the game and players. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade said that the series completely nailed the chess accuracy. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Did you like The Queen's Gambit? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to stay up to date on all your favorite shows. This has been Riveted.